The pelicans, egrets, herons, ibis, and spoonbills all belong to the order Pelecaniformes. This video cover these birds, starting with the pelicans. The American white pelican is a huge white bird with black wingtips and an orange bill. It breeds inland and winters on coasts, never diving, always surface feeding cooperatively. The non-breeding adult brown pelican has silvery gray upper parts with dark brown streaking, brown underparts, plus a whitish head and neck. During breeding season, there is a pale yellow crown, dark chestnut on the hind neck, and the belly becomes darker. The brown pelican plunge dives from height, crashing bill first into the water, cushioned by air sacs under its skin. There is only one other pelican that plunge dives for fish, but the brown pelican is the high dive champion. Note that the two previous photos were of East Coast birds. This breeding West Coast subspecies shows its characteristic darker, almost black hind neck. This East Coast juvenile has a uniform brown head and neck, scalloped brown upper parts, and whitish underparts, with none of the vivid plumage or soft part colors of the adult. To drain the gallons of water the pouch can hold when a fish is caught, the pelican squeezes its pouch, forcing the water out the sides of its bill while keeping its prey safely trapped inside. Most people know that pelicans are large birds with a pouch that is great for catching fish. But did you know they have webbing that connects all four toes? That is quite rare. The official name for the pelican's type of webbing is totipalmate. It is interesting to note that cormorants also have the same type of webbing as the pelicans, but DNA studies indicate their webbing evolved independently. The ibis and spoonbills both have semi-palmated webbing, that is, their feet are partially webbed. Herons' feet are not webbed. Larger than the brown pelican, with a dark body, blue pouch, and vivid yellow and red bill, the Peruvian pelican lives along the fish-rich Humboldt Current off South America's west coast. It plunge dives for fish, but from lower heights than the brown pelican. These pelicans are opportunistic scavengers around fishing boats, feeding on scraps, which incidentally helps keep the beach clean. Africa's smallest pelican, the pink-backed, has grayish-white plumage with a subtle pink wash on the back and a yellowish bill. It often nests in trees alongside herons and egrets, and hunts alone, unlike the colonial habits of most pelicans. One of the world's largest flying birds, the Dalmatian pelican, is distinguished by its curly nape feathers, silvery white plumage, and an orange-red pouch that becomes vivid during the breeding season. Predominantly white with black wingtips and a yellow-pink pouch, the great white pelican is found across Africa, Europe, and Asia. Groups swim in formation, herding fish into the shallows where they scoop them up together. Its wingspan can be over 11 feet, rivaling that of the wandering albatross. White with black wings and a massive pink bill, the longest of any living bird, the Australian pelican is highly nomadic, moving inland after rains to exploit temporary lakes. It will eat almost anything that fits in its pouch. Moving on now from the pelican family to the heron and egret family. Birds in Ardeidae have an S-curved neck. They use that kinked neck as a spring to rapidly strike their prey. And they fly with the neck retracted, as contrasted with cranes and storks that extend their necks in flight. Egrets are herons. The name simply refers to species that are typically white and grow long ornamental plumes during breeding season. Stocky and white, the cattle egret develops orange-buff plumes on the head, breast, and back in breeding season. It follows livestock to catch flushed insects, and originally African, now inhabits every continent except Antarctica. Cattle egrets are highly social birds that gather in large flocks to roost and nest. They typically roost communally in trees like these, often returning to the same trees night after night. Tall and with entirely white plumage, the great egret has a long yellow bill and black legs. In breeding season it has long wispy plumes. The great egret was nearly hunted to extinction for those plumes and became the symbol of the Audubon Society. It is the largest white egret. Standing about 4 feet tall, with blue-gray plumage, a white face, and black plumes above the eye, the great blue heron is North America's largest heron. It can swallow fish nearly as wide as its own neck and sometimes hunts by touch in darkness. Herons can retract their neck into a tight S-curve, making them look much shorter and stockier than they actually are. The world's largest heron, the Goliath heron, stands 5 feet tall with a 7-foot wingspan. Its plumage is rich chestnut and gray, with a streaked neck and powerful bill. Its deep booming call carries far across African waterways. This photo illustrates the wingspan, and also that, like all herons, the Goliath heron flies with its neck retracted rather than outstretched. With a black crown and hind neck contrasting sharply with a white throat, the black-headed heron hunts rodents and insects in African grasslands, far from water and bold enough to steal food from other birds. Gray above and white below, with a broad black eye stripe and drooping black breast plumes, the gray heron is Europe and Asia's familiar large wader. It can stand motionless for hours and famously raids ornamental garden ponds. Slimmer and more secretive than its gray cousin, the purple heron has rich chestnut and slate purple plumage with striking black and chestnut neck streaking. It hides in reed beds, pointing its bill skyward when threatened. Large and dark-bodied with a contrasting white head and neck dotted with dark spots along its front, Australia's white-necked heron is a nomad, following rainfall far into arid inland regions. Entirely white with a slender black bill, black legs, and bright yellow feet, the snowy egret is more animated than most herons, actively herding fish and using its feet to stir and disturb the water. The little blue heron has white juveniles and slate blue adults with a maroon-tinged neck, a dramatic color change unique among herons. White young birds associate with snowy egrets to gain foraging advantages. The reddish egret has shaggy rufous plumage on the neck and a pink-based bill in its dark morph. It occurs in a white morph as well. It performs a lurching, wing-spreading drunken dance to reduce water glare while hunting. The tricolored heron is a tireless, sprinting pursuit hunter, dashing through shallows after fish. Its white, blue-gray, and lavender plumage makes it one of the more striking U.S. coastal herons. Uniformly dark with yellow feet, the black heron of sub-Saharan Africa spreads its wings forward like an umbrella over the water, creating shade that attracts curious fish. One of the most distinctive hunting techniques of any bird. Restricted to Madagascar and nearby islands, the dimorphic egret occurs in both dark slate and white morphs, and like the little egret has yellow feet and a slender dark bill. It is little studied. Yellow feet and a slender black bill mark the little egret, Old World counterpart to the snowy egret. In recent decades it has expanded its range into Western Europe and beyond. Look out for the crocodile. Blue-gray with a distinctive white face and a slender bill, Australia's most common heron. The white-faced heron is highly adaptable, equally at home in suburban gardens, dry paddocks, and coastal mudflats. Small and stocky with a deep green-black back, rich chestnut breast, and orange-yellow legs. The green heron is one of very few tool-using birds, dropping bait, insects, feathers, even bread, to lure fish within striking range. Small and compact, with gray-green upper parts, a dark crown, and white-streaked underparts, the striated heron shares the green heron's remarkable bait fishing behavior. It ranges across the global tropics in many variable subspecies. Found only on the Galapagos Islands, the lava heron is entirely sooty gray, darker than its relatives, camouflaged against black volcanic rock. Its legs turn bright orange during the breeding season. It is notably fearless around humans. Streaky brown and easy to overlook in non-breeding plumage, the Indian pond heron explodes into brilliant white wings when flushed, a startling contrast that may confuse predators. It is among the most abundant herons of South Asia. In breeding plumage, the Javan pond heron develops rich buff orange and black tones, transforming from a streaky brown bird into one of the more striking pond herons of Southeast Asia. Night herons do hunt at night, thus their eyes are larger and more light-sensitive than those of typical herons. They're largely sit-and-wait predators, crouching motionless and lunging at prey, rather than slowly wading and stalking. The yellow-crowned night heron has a black face with bold white cheek patches and a pale yellow crown. Stockier than its black-crowned cousin, it specializes in crustaceans, using its heavy build to crush crabs and crayfish. The boat-billed heron has a uniquely broad, scoop-like bill, large dark eyes suited to night vision, and gray and black plumage. The sensitive bill snaps shut on prey in murky water without the heron needing to see it, an adaptation for nocturnal hunting. The ibis and spoonbill family is united by tactile foraging rather than visual hunting. Ibises probe mud and shallow water with long curved bills, feeling for invertebrates and small vertebrates. Spoonbills sweep their spatulate bills side to side, snapping shut on contact. Both rely on sensitive nerves in the bill tip. Brilliant white, with a curved red bill and vivid red facial skin, the white ibis is a familiar sight across the American Southeast, foraging in groups through shallow wetlands and suburban lawns alike. Notice the black wingtips, hidden when perched, but revealed in flight as a bold contrast to the otherwise pure white plumage. Few birds match the scarlet ibis for sheer color. Found across South America and Trinidad, its intense red plumage comes entirely from carotenoid pigments, absorbed through a crustacean-heavy diet. The crustaceans in turn got the carotenoids from algae. This is a breeding adult at peak color. Note the darkened bill, which turns nearly black during the breeding season, and the black wingtips providing the only break in an otherwise head-to-toe scarlet display. Dark brown and iridescent with a long down curved bill and reddish facial skin. The Puna ibis is restricted to high-altitude Andean wetlands, typically above 3,000 meters. It tolerates cold, thin air environments that most wading birds never reach. Also dark and iridescent, the glossy ibis shimmers with green and purple in good light. It is the most widespread ibis in the world, found across Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas. Large and gray-brown with an iridescent green shoulder patch and a long down curved bill, the Hadada ibis is found across sub-Saharan Africa, thriving equally in wetlands, gardens, and busy urban parks. The African sacred ibis was revered in ancient Egypt and associated with the gods. It has a striking naked black head, contrasting with white body plumage and black wingtip plumes. With a bare black head, white body, and black wing-tip plumes, Australia's white ibis is bold, opportunistic, and utterly unintimidated by humans. It raids trash bins and picnic areas, thus earning the nickname, bin chicken. The straw-necked ibis of Australia is named for the straw-like feathers on its neck. Its back and wings show an iridescent dark green and purple gloss, while the underparts are white. It favors grasslands and flooded paddocks and is considered beneficial to farmers for eating locusts and grasshoppers. Nesting on mountain cliff ledges in South Africa, the southern bald ibis has a bare red crown, white facial skin, and a glossy green-black body. Its small, localized population has earned it a vulnerable status. Found nowhere else on Earth, the Madagascar crested ibis sports a dramatic white and chestnut crest, making it one of the most visually striking ibises in the family. Its back and wings are deep glossy green, and the face is bare and red. It forages quietly on the forest floor. Proceeding now from the ibis to spoonbills. The roseate spoonbill is the only spoonbill in the Americas, and one of the most visually striking wading birds on the continent. Its pink coloration comes from carotenoids in its diet. The spatulate bill is swept side to side through shallow water, snapping shut on fish and crustaceans by touch alone. Found across sub-Saharan Africa and Madagascar, the African spoonbill is all white with bare red facial skin and a reddish bill. It favors shallow lakes, wetlands, and floodplains, often nesting colonially in trees over water alongside herons and egrets. The royal spoonbill ranges across Australia, New Zealand, and parts of Southeast Asia. Predominantly white with a striking black spatulate bill and black facial skin, it develops a long drooping crest during the breeding season that sets it apart from other spoonbills. Breeding birds also display a vivid yellow, sometimes red-tinged, patch of skin around the eye. Braking to a stop. The wings are fully spread and cupped upward, maximizing drag to bleed off speed. Entirely brown, medium-sized, with a distinctive backward-pointing crest and a stout bill that gives the head a hammer-like profile, the hammerkop occupies its own family. It is found across sub-Saharan Africa and Madagascar. No close relatives exist. The hammerkop is best known for building the largest nest of any bird relative to its size, a massive domed structure of sticks, mud, and debris. The nest can weigh over 50 kilograms. The name means hammerhead, a reference to the backward-pointing crest.